Brown Boots Ennis. Is he greatness in the making? Um, a lot of people think Jaron Ennis is the goods. A lot of people think he's a hype job. I've seen a lot of channels. Not many, just a few, man. I even seen some LDBC dudes even call them hype jobs, and I'm like, okay. And some people feel like in the middle. Things are. It's a lot that remains to be seen with Jaron Ennis, and I agree. There's a lot that remains to be seen because he hasn't really fought what we would call top tier competition yet, but that's not really his fault. That doesn't take away from his skill set as well, because you got to also remember a lot of these dudes that we deem as lower level competition or mid tier, they're also professional boxers. They to get to even that level takes a certain amount of skill. Trust me, And the word bums, I can't stand when people call boxers bums. I've said this many times on previous videos. There's nothing, there's just skill sets. There's just levels. That's really it. None of them are bums. Now, I take that back. There was this one boxer that I did see, and he was fighting weird. I got to find the video. He was fighting like he was a street fighter. And I'm like, there's no way this dude is a boxer. I mean, his record was, I think, 2-70 or something like that. Maybe you could classify that as a bum because the way he was fighting, it was like he almost would just jump right in the boxing ring. It's almost like he was never trained in boxing. But that's the only exception. And maybe Glass Joe from Mike Tyson's Punch Out. But generally speaking, man, these dudes aren't bums. They dedicate their life to this sport. You got to show a certain level of respect. That's just what it is. But Jaron Ennis, the eye test tells us, he is, he looks good. What we're seeing, the movements, the speed, the power. But there's also defensive flaws in him. And shout out to Boxing Gym. Y'all go check out Boxing Gym. That's my cousin right there. Y'all go check out his channel. And he break it down to a T. It's a science. Further than any, I can't even break it down like that. He has vast knowledge in this sport. So go check out Boxing Gym. Go like and subscribe to the cuz, man. Anyway, Jaron Ennis, back to him. Is he greatness in the making? It looks like it. It looks like it. But here's the thing. Adversity. He hasn't really faced any adversity yet. He hasn't faced any real adversity. He's faced a minimal amount of adversity, I would say, from mainly Sergey Lipinets. He's the one that really tested him thus far the most, I think, out of all of Jaron Ennis' opponents. Carlos Abreu gave him a little bit, some good. He hit him. He gave him some good face shots, man, Carlos Abreu. But I think Sergey Lipinets was the one that really pushed Jaron in his envelope a little bit. But even with all of that being said, he does have some defensive flaws. But what boxer don't? Some boxers, Floyd Mayweather, we consider him one of the greatest boxers, without a doubt. Highly skilled boxer, A+ fighter, high caliber fighter. And we seen Floyd Mayweather get rocked a few times. We seen him get rocked by Shane Mosley. We seen him get rocked by Marcos Maidana, a few other dudes too, but mainly Shane Mosley, Marcos Maidana early in Floyd's career when he was Pretty Boy Floyd. He gave DeMarcus Chop Corley gave him a good run. He had issues with Emmanuel Augustus, the drunken boxer, stuff like that. And he came out on top. It's not always about facing adversity. See, that's the thing in this sport, man. When you don't face the adversity, people start to question your caliber of opponents. But they never look at it as maybe you just that good. Maybe you just that good where you ain't faced that because you ain't had to face it because you just that good. You just that better than your competition. take into consideration the next opponent for Jaron Ennis, Custio Clayton. Um, I think Jaron Ennis should whip him because Custio Clayton is one dimensional. He has a good 1-2. He has a great right hand out of his high guard and stuff like that. But I don't see where he's anything special, that he has any other things different than the opponents that Jaron has already faced. And he also fought Sergey Lipinets, and he went tooth and nails with Sergey Lipinets. Jaron Ennis had a little adversity with Sergey Lipinets, but knocked him out. I know the triangle theory thing doesn't always really resonate, but sometimes that's an indicator when you see things like that. Okay, so Custio Clayton might show Jaron Ennis a different look. We don't know. He might face some adversity against Custio Clayton. Custio Clayton he has a little bit of power. He can punch a little bit. I just don't think he has the skills, as like he doesn't have the technicalities like Sergey Lipinets did. So we will have to see. I think Boots is gonna knock him out, but we'll see. He may face some challenges before he gets to knock out Custio Clayton, because Custio Clayton, he's never been knocked out. He hasn't been stopped. Okay, so Boots might give him his first stoppage. We'll see. Or Custio Clayton could beat him. This is boxing. It doesn't look like that will happen, but we know lately things have been looking real shaky in boxing. People that we say was going to smoke these other guys, these underdogs, either they just got by the skin of their teeth or they're losing. Expect more of that. Expect more of that from people that we think are up there. But the whole thing, when he hasn't faced anybody yet, I get what people are saying. At the same time, he only can fight who he can fight. And then if he wasn't fighting these people that we deem as mid-tier or lower tier, then we'd be saying he's not active. But he got to stay active, so he got to take who they give him. So it's like we can't have it both ways. Adversity is paramount to the level of competition you face as well. Yes. So if Jaron Ennis, let's just say he goes to another 10 fights and he looks like superb. Does that mean he didn't fight nobody, or does that mean he's just that good? You gotta think about that for a minute, man. Sometimes people are really that special and really that gifted where they look spectacular. People say that about Floyd. Floyd was cherry picking his last opponents. Yeah, towards the end of his career, Floyd was picking, people that we already know he was gonna beat. Like Andre Berto but early on in Floyd's career, similar to Jaron Ennis, he was fighting whoever they put in front of him, man. And he was looking good. When he turned into Money Mayweather, for obvious reasons, he started to be a little bit more defensive-minded, moving around a little bit more. This is boxing. He's supposed to do that. You're not supposed to stay there and get punched upside the head back and forth. He's supposed to stay there. He's supposed to move around a little bit. He changed up his style a little bit. Floyd had good footwork back then, but more as he got older, he started employing that footwork a little bit more. He became a little bit more defensive than offensive. Early in his career, he's more offensive and a little less defensive. That's why I used to see Floyd, I think, chop bust his nose, or was it Manuel Augustus bust his nose? Because he was more of he used to stand there and trade with you a little bit more. He was banging with you in the pocket a little more. He was more right in front of you than he was towards later on in his career. But I want to see if Jaron Ennis, when he does face more adversity, how he handles it. If he breaks under pressure, that a lot of that, I guess that's what a lot of people are saying. And I have no doubt that he won't, that he will. He I don't think that will happen. We don't know. I doubt it. But let's just say he doesn't. He doesn't say next 5 to 10 fights he starts fighting. Let's see, he fights Keith Thurman, smokes him. What's gonna be the excuse when he fights Keith Thurman, smokes him? Oh, Keith Thurman already got beat by Pacquiao. Barrios he barely beat Barrios. Keith Thurman's work weak to the body. He fights Errol Spence. Oh, Errol Spence, he had already had a detached retina. He already had damage from the car accident. He was already drinking. If he beats Terrence Crawford, Terrence Crawford was older. It's gonna always be something. And it's the same thing that happens with Terrence Crawford too. I see the same thing. When he fights somebody, they always put a label on that person when he fight him. But before he fought that person, Bud ain't fight nobody. It's the same thing I see happening with. Same thing is happening now with Jaron Ennis, and it'll probably happen after Jaron Ennis finally gets to what we call the top tier competition. But that's a good question. What happens if Jaron Ennis doesn't face adversity? Does that mean he ain't fighting nobody? Or does that mean he's that good? He's only going to get better from here. Even if you think he wasn't fighting higher level caliber opponents, he's still active. And every time he's active, he's getting better and he's learning from what he did wrong in the previous fight. And you just watch it. Watch his fights. He's learning every time. He's getting much better. You got to remember, this dude, Bozy Ennis, that whole family, they were fighters, man. They fought. They were fighters. So this kid been fighting since he was damn near a baby. You know, so there's a championship pedigree built into Jaron Ennis already. A lot of these boxers now, they were fighting when they were teens, 9, 10 years old, which is good. This kid been fighting since he was like 4, 5 years old. They say he picked up gloves when he was a damn near baby, 3, 4 years old. So there has to be something special about this kid. And I understand he's already, 28 fights in. He's at damn near the same amount of fights as like Errol Spence and all these guys that's 10 years older than him. But think about that for a minute. He's 20-something years old. He has almost 30 fights. Errol Spence and them, 34, 33, 32. And they just getting like 30 fights. That should tell you something. Think about that. That should tell you something, right? He's been busy. He's been busier than these dudes. And I explained that to you guys. The dude fought like 6 times in 1 year. I think twice. 5 times in 1 year, 6 times in 1 year, I think. So there's something about Jaron in this, man. And I'm telling you now, I think he is the goods. There are definitely some things that remain to be seen, but I think he's going to be a great one. The thing is, people are going to always question it if he's really that good and he don't face as much adversity. People expect him to face adversity. They want to see him get punched. They want to see him get knocked down. What if he doesn't get knocked down in his whole career? Does that mean he didn't fight nobody? That doesn't mean that. Did that mean Floyd wasn't that good because he didn't get knocked down in his career? That's not what that means, bro. It means he was just that good. Let me know what you think. This is Rebel Life Boxing. Catch y'all later on the next one, and I'm out.